the Center for Disease Control was very close to arguing that place was a cause of disease. Because if a community is not walkable, you can talk about losing weight, you can talk about diabetes, but if a community is not walkable, people won't walk. If a community has a lot of 90-degree corners, seniors don't walk because everybody wants to see around the corner. If buildings are tall and uninviting, we evolved in grasslands, not canyons. And so our need for open space is critical. So if you take two populations of kids, exact same demographics in every way, exact same racial groups, income groups, and you put one in an environment where you have gardens and trees, and another one in a garden in areas of concrete, the difference in crime rate is 70%. If you want to defeat crime, you rebuild your neighborhoods. And that's where Neighborhood House does. Neighborhood House gives value to place at a time when we have to talk about the importance of place. And you always say, but King County is different. No, the data I gave you on place is King County's data. We did it here first. Then what happened was that Public Broadcasting Service took that tool and applied it to Modesto, California, got the same result. Then Ohio State University ran across 14 communities, and all of a sudden the federal government was looking at all this data, and it said place is critical. And it requires us to have somebody who will enunciate the importance of changing place, to having good schools and parks and playgrounds and walkways, to instilling the arts, to be able to say that why should we continue to get wrapped around about who you are? I have to tell people I'm an African American. I really am. I've been an African American all my life. My wife is Filipino. She has been Filipino all of her life. My granddaughter, who is perfect in every way, she says that magic word, Grandpapa, and I say the magic word, I love you, what do you want? My son just shakes his head. Weeks and weeks and weeks, he said, of rehab after she leaves my presence. In a world that seemingly wishes to divide itself on where we're from and what language we speak, on religion, on sexual orientation, I am so tired of the divisions. America is the world's grand experiment. It's the first nation to arrive to a military and economic superpower without a common gene pool. We all got here by boat, plane, and land bridge. It should be something we celebrate, not something that we deplore. And so what I like about Neighborhood House is they're doing it right, because they recognize the value in everyone. That there are no divisions. There are no people to prefer and those to disdain, because everybody has potential. I remember sitting in an event with Quincy Jones, and it was really funny because he was being honored, and he waved, and he came back, because I know his brother more than I know him, but we know each other. And we were sitting there, and I said, you know, you have this wonderful story you tell. I just got to tell you this. I wanted his autograph, but he didn't give it to me. But I didn't ask for it, so, you know, don't ask, don't get. So we're just sitting there, and I said, you had this wonderful story about when you were in a room in your house, and you talk about it, and you're looking out the window with your brother, and you said, I want people to hear my music. And Richard said, I just want to be a lawyer. And, you know, I said, Quincy, who hasn't heard your music? And Richard's a federal judge. I said, can you imagine how people looked at you two when you first said it? You're going to be local and law clerk works. And instead, they achieved their dreams. That's what Neighborhood House realizes. That there are people out there waiting for extraordinary opportunity to do amazing things. They give them value. If you've ever been in an environment where you were not valued, where the only value you got were great parents, and maybe be able to have the Mrs. Lakes and Mr. Lakes in your life, to be able to have 4 teachers in my entire educational career that valued me, to be able to have brothers that value me, but to be unvalued, to be ignored, to be told that you're not going to be able to achieve. My wife said, I am motivated by my life's experiences that people count, that you can never count us out when we want to be counted in. And it's a long, difficult path. Neighborhood house makes it easier, though. And I wish I would have had a neighborhood house in my life where I would have gone down there and somebody would have said to you, you are important and you can achieve and go be great. Make change, be extraordinary. That's what they're doing for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of families. You don't have to go someplace when you can go to them, when they can provide that service. That's the magic of them. And that's why I'm here to say to you, they are magical. They are magical. They're magical. For people like me with my life experiences who wanted an easier road and didn't get it, but they provide the easier road. When you want to be in an environment where people affirm your value, they affirm people's value. When you want to be in an environment where people tell you, raise your expectations, and we'll build that around you to make sure you're doing the most difficult work in school, not the easiest, that you are actually utilizing your talent, they do that. When they empower you to believe that you can change your life and affect it, they do that. So I want to thank all of you here that are supporters of Neighborhood House, because you are remarkable in your own right. You believe in their purpose and their function. My oldest brother, James, went to the National Jewish Hospital in Denver, Colorado, and he was there for 5 years of his life. And at that hospital, he was asthmatic in Spokane, and his doctor said to him, to my parents, we're going to have to take him there so he can actually learn how to live with his asthma and become stronger and more disciplined. I wish I could thank everybody who funded that hospital. I wish I could hug every doctor and every nurse, every donor, the janitors, all those people in that hospital, because they gave me a big brother. They allowed me to enjoy his presence. They had a remarkable impact on my life because they gave him one. And that's what you're doing when you give to Neighborhood House. You're basically, the line of people that would thank you, you'll never meet them. But the greatest thing you can do in life is to give without expectation of thanks, but to know that your work was consequential and what you undertook was extraordinary. So for people like me, who Isabel Wilkerson captured so perfectly, grandfather from South Carolina, and when my father was in his sunset, I said to my dad, Daddy, you were the greatest man I ever knew. He said, no, your grandfather was the greatest man you ever knew. And I said, but he cleaned houses. And my father said, all the things he did, my grandfather is the second greatest man I ever knew. But my father, who basically made a decision that with all his talents and his skills, that he would remain in a community that was hostile to his interests for so long, that he would wear them down, and he wore them down along with my mother. And so that Spokane is a much different place today than it was when I was a child, when I was a teenager. Yeah. That's what you are. You're those kinds of people that supported my parents in their aspirations and their dreams. You're the kind of people that nurture talent and you nurture skill. And you give, and you give. But time is not an ally. Never has been, never will be. I get to be wonderfully retired. And my sister-in-law sent a note to me. She says, 2 bottles of wine, and the note says, retirement is the next best thing to heaven. I said to her, she understated it. It is wonderful. It is wonderful to be able to wake up and say, what do I want to do today? But there is so much to be done. So much to be done. But time is not an ally. It never is. I've watched clocks descend, and I always tell this story. When my son was born, I remember wishing to give him a 4-foot drying umbilical cord, but the doctor said no, and So I had to cut it here, and then all of a sudden I'm in the room, and my granddaughter is being born, and my son is cutting the umbilical cord. And like a very proud grandpapa, I went on the hallway and said, yes, 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 and then cried because life had come so full circle. But I remember watching time descend, just descend on a clock, just descend from high numbers to numbers that were at zero. And I remember having to look up at my brother's family and his friends and tell them that my twin brother had joined God in eternity. I wish I could have stopped those numbers, held them, stopped them, done anything, turned back the clock of time. But that was not to be. My twin brother's journey is complete. He had a good life, and people talked about him as a physical therapist and all the things he did so that people could regain their mobility and walk again and not be in pain. All those things that he did, a remarkable, remarkable life. But a higher authority than anybody in this room has determined that your job's not done, either in your professional endeavors or your community endeavors, that your job is not done. You have purpose. You have purpose. So use this time in an extraordinary way. All of a sudden understand you have been given an amazing thing to do. That there are geniuses to find, families to hold together, people with hopes and dreams. And they come in all colors, in all faiths, in all religions, in all sizes, in all diets, and all customs. That it is the beauty of this incredible rainbow that the country needs to accept and explore and enjoy like a wonderful, wonderful meal. That's what you want to put your arms around, the sweetness of who we are. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Your journey is not complete. You've been given one more day, one more week, one more month, one more lifetime to allow us to be an extraordinary people. The best nation ever known to humankind. An enduring nation on this earth. And this place, it shall start here. Thank you.